Hi there, welcome to today's first episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this is what happened, the carnage that happened down in Southend last night. Now, taking a wee bit of time to do anything about this topic for the simple reason, well, one, I was travelling today, I've driven over 300 miles today, about 6 hours, so it's kind of busy. But I also wanted to see what the locals were saying, because in some mainstream media outlets, it's as if this never happened. Now, I understand there's also issues in Southport, which I reported on last night. There's a video I've done about that. I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. But a lot of the mainstream, and I was driving today. As I say, I was in the car for 6 hours, and bar a couple of phone calls, I was listening to the radio and news channels across 2 or 3 different platforms. None of them even mentioned Southend. So I did at one point today consider if I was hallucinating last night when I saw machete fights in the streets of Southend. But about an hour ago, the Southend Echo, which is a local newspaper, released an article. And it did happen. I wasn't hallucinating. And their headline is, Southend's shocking footage showed thugs armed with machetes. And they've got some of the stills from the videos I'm sure we all seen last night. And their story says, terrifying violence broke out in Southend as thugs armed with machetes were involved in a fight and hundreds of teenagers filled the city centre. One stabbing victim was airlifted to hospital as chaos unfolded on the seafront and High Street, forcing businesses to close early as Essex Police attempted to clear the area. Shocking footage showed 4 men, all dressed in black and wielding large knives, involved in a fight on Marine Parade, just metres away from Adventure Island. Adventure Island is the fun park, okay, with roller coasters and kiddie rides and all that. While yobs armed with weapons were also spotted in the High Street. Hundreds of them. Startling videos posted to social media showed the gang fighting with machetes as children screamed on the rides in Adventureland in the background. 8 people were arrested and at least 7 weapons seized by police as disturbing scenes played out on Tuesday night. According to shocking reports, Greggs in the High Street was looted by thugs, trees and plants in Pier Hill were set on fire, and teenagers openly used drugs on the seafront in the city centre. Tensions began to mount in the seafront in the afternoon as traders described hundreds of teenagers arriving before the violence broke out in the evening as Essex Police issued a dispersal order in a bid to clear the crowds. Natasha Haley Branch, 25, fled the city centre after enjoying a day on the beach with her partner. She said, I noticed a lot of these teenagers were smoking cannabis, drinking alcohol and inhaling nitrous oxide. I'm kind of guessing that's poppers, but I'm a bit of a dinosaur, so it might not be. But I think that's what nitrous oxide is. When walking away from the beach, I saw girls smashing glass alcohol bottles near the children's fountains where children were playing. I saw police trying to de-escalate the disturbance near Adventure Island, followed by a team of cars and dog units approaching with blue lights. As we walked up Pier Hill, I saw black smoke. Trees and plants at the top of the pier were on fire, and people were trying to put it out with jugs of water walking through town. Walking through town, I could see groups of teens still on their way down to the seafront. Some children were wearing full black tracksuits, covering their faces with balaclavas, and I even saw a child who looked about 13 wearing a stab bulletproof vest. I was just so upset and angry, I felt like crying. My home was being ruined with litter, drugs, broken glass, fires, and kids fighting in the streets, where it should be a family-friendly area. Now, what I find odd is a few things. In Southport last night, there was some acts of violence where things were burnt. Things were burnt here. Police were called here. But here, there's people taking drugs openly and carrying machetes. the Southport has been reported significantly different. And what a lot of people forgot to report last night was, and I heard this today on the radio, that there was a vigil which was for the 3 young girls that have been murdered so far. I'll cross my fingers and pray that no one else joins them on that list, because there are still some children and adults critical. So there was a vigil near the scene, and there was an issue at the mosque. Now, I spoke to someone last night from Liverpool who was actually at the vigil in Southport. And what she told me was, from the vigil, because folk were asking, well, was this mosque close to the vigil? It's about a 20-minute walk. Take you 5-10 minutes in a car. That's how it was described. But as people were leaving the vigil, there was a man arrested with a balaclava and a machete on, minutes away from the vigil. Not 20 minutes away. Practically around the corner. But not only did not a lot of outlets actually describe this and report on this man with a balaclava and a machete going in the direction of the vigil, a lot of them just ignored it as if it didn't happen. There were suggestions that, regardless if it was right, wrong or indifferent, the issues at the mosque were a lot closer to the vigil and disrupted the vigil. But someone who was there, not heard third hand, a girl I know from Liverpool who was in Southport, told me that those 2 incidents were 20-minute walk away and heavily reported as being disruptive to the vigil. But a man arrested, a balaclava on and a machete, practically round the corner from the vigil, as the vigil was happening, was hardly reported at all. And this is the things that people are finding frustrating. There seems not only to be differences in the way police react to certain incidents, there seems to be a difference in the way the media report these incidents. And through the earlier part of my travels today, I was listening to BBC Scotland. They had a phone in about what was going on in society just now. And one caller was talking about it, and then he was saying, people, Indigenous people of Britain are finding life frustrating just now. And he was asked the question about, what do you think people are frustrated about? And he mentioned immigration. Now, he didn't tie it to anything. He was just putting it down in what sounded as if he was going to go on to describe a list of things that people are frustrated with in Britain today. And he was cut off by the BBC Scotland presenter and told that it was ridiculous that he was trying to tie the death of these 3 young girls to immigration. And he wasn't. I was listening to him. He was asked what is frustrating the public that might cause them to act in such a way as they had in Southport the night before. And then he mysteriously got cut off. Then the same presenter went on to have a moan about social media. And this BBC presenter went on to say our opinions on social media flip from time to time. From being a place that's full of fake news, that's how she feels about it, full fake news, to a place that's just full of, I think the word was lunatics or idiots, one of the two. So that's somebody within the mainstream media and their opinions on what you're using just now, and that's social media. And I find that quite frightening, that there's this perception being portrayed by people who are employed by us, the licence fee payers, and have that opinion of something that possibly because they see it as a rival. The other things that this presenter said about social media was it was full of bad actors, suggesting that it was people using social media to portray things inaccurately. We see the mainstream media do this all the time. So I think it's worth considering what is going on in the UK just now, and why certain groups within the United Kingdom, which tend to be the indigenous people of the United Kingdom, in particular males, but females are equally as upset, but they seem to be a wee bit more relaxed about how they react to situations. And I'm not going to condemn or condone something I don't know too much about. But what I will say is, if there's large pockets of society, including the police, the way they've reported stuff recently, the media, and the politicians, deal with different sections of society differently, then of course the situation, and I spoke about this last night, the UK just now is like a pressure cooker. And a pressure cooker will only contain so much pressure until one day the seals go. And I hope and pray that the seals aren't about to go anytime soon. I just hope this is a wee blip. But we have seen disturbances 2 nights in a row in the streets of Britain, because there's been some scenes down at Downing Street tonight. And I just hope that we don't see a third one. But we need joined up thinking here. And what I said, I'd put in a tweet earlier on, now the protesters who protested in Southport and Downing Street, if you read some of the things coming out in the media, these people are referred to as a certain way, they're pigeonholed, and people try to invalidate their concerns. So what if you're not protesting in Southport, you're not protesting in Downing Street, but you have same concerns as the people who are protesting? Are you not allowed these to be ignored as well? Because if we keep ignoring people, people do things and react to things because they feel they've got needs that aren't satisfied, and that can sometimes be treated fairly. And if we keep ignoring them, they'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And if that's what some people want to happen, then you're doing it the right way. But what we do need to happen is, we need to have some adult conversations and apply common sense and logic and sit and say, this thing ain't working. Let's not all just try to take the virtue of being correct, right? And let's consider, could the people that are protesting, rightly or wrongly protesting, have valid concerns? But if we want to ignore them, we'll never even consider that, if we just ignore these people, right? And the thing will never get better, because they'll just feel more and more ignored, and their needs will be less and less validated. And then it gets worse. So politicians, media, well, they won't though, because they've spent so much time believing what they're doing is right, whether that be politicians, media, or police, how we police things. So for them to suddenly admit we're wrong, probably never going to happen. But I pray it does. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing and hitting the notifications bell. Most importantly of all, unless you only see one side of what's going on in the country right now, everyone else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.